Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Improvement for Imbeciles podcast. I'm your podcast host, Natalie Etched, and today we are going to be talking about how to transmute negative energy into positive energy. Now, I know this is a topic that a lot of us struggle with. Again, this is where I share ways in which I'm getting my shit together so that you can get your shit together. And we can be honest here. Sometimes it seems literally impossible to remain optimistic during the challenging times in our life. But that is exactly what I'm going to be talking about today, because in my own life, I've had so many experiences that have taught me to just stay positive and remain optimistic. But before I really get into everything, I want to clarify that positivity is not about lying to ourselves and saying, things are great when they are far from it, but it's all about embracing the fact that we are living a human experience. It's learning how to transmute those negative experiences we have into more positive ones and take the lesson out of everything we learn so that our potential isn't wasted on our fears and limiting beliefs. Negativity is kind of like a virus. Like, when you really think about it, negativity is giving COVID. Maybe too soon? I don't know. No, but like seriously, it kind of has this like contagious quality to it. Have you ever walked into a room and all of a sudden you're just in this negative mood because other people around you are just so negative and all they are talking about is how much they dislike their jobs, they dislike where they're at in life, all of these things in life, like they are just focusing on all the things that are going wrong. When we're surrounded by negativity, whether it's in the form of just like pessimistic attitudes or the environment we're in, it can be hard to remain open to new information and also remain open to new and better experiences. We have all encountered someone who literally feels like they just have this like big cloud over their head. And I'm going to be honest, guys, that used to be me. I'm sure everyone has felt that way at some point in their life. Like, you might have clicked on this video feeling like that, like just feeling extremely negative. And if I can guarantee you one thing, is that this podcast will make you feel better than when you started this video. If not better, you'll at least have the tools in order to transmute the negative energy you're feeling into something that's more beneficial for you. But yeah, to go back to like feeling negativity, I feel like I used to be this person who was always so negative. And in some ways, I wanted other people to empathize with me. And that's what's so dangerous about negativity, is because it genuinely is like a virus. Like, you want to spread it. You want other people to feel how you're feeling, even if it's not right. And so I want to talk about a few things that really go into a negative mindset before we get into solutions on how to become more of a positive person. Firstly, let's talk about limiting beliefs. We've all heard this term limiting beliefs, but I don't think everyone has really sat in what it really means to have a lot of limiting beliefs. And yes, it's in the name, we're aware that the belief limits us, but to what degree the belief limits us and to what degree we are aware of it is what I really want to focus on. These beliefs you have are based on past experiences of honestly real trauma you went through. Most of our negative beliefs we have about ourselves and the world don't always come from a logical place. However, they do come from a past experience that is very real. For example, you might have become complacent with your negative mindset because you've been let down so many times. And let me just say, it's so natural to want to avoid the negative things we feel and to not relive certain negative experiences. But when we close ourselves off to the possibility of negative experiences, we are also closing ourselves off to the experiences that will be more positive and will uplift us in our life. At the root of almost every limiting belief, there is fear. It's fear. It's fear that we will never get to where we want to be, that something is working against us, that we are inherently flawed, that we are inherently unworthy. And I just want to tell you guys, that is so far from the truth. And remember how I was talking about that person who always has the cloud above their head? When I had the cloud above my head and when I was just this negative person, I was actually working in fast food service. I worked many different food jobs, but the main one where I felt the most negative was when I was working at Papa Murphy's. And that has nothing to do with them as a company, but I remember my boss, I'm just gonna name her Nancy. That wasn't her name, but she was a negative Nancy, okay? Her favorite thing to say was, Like, that's how she would start off every single complaint of hers. She would just let out this huge sigh. And I just remember, like, the job itself was never that bad. However, she would complain about, like, the smallest things, like a customer wanting an extra topping, or when I asked for time off, it would always be some type of an issue, even when I gave 2 weeks' notice. Not only were my coworkers extremely negative, but the customers that would often come into the store would also be really, really rude. And it would be so hard because, imagine I'm like 16, this is one of my first jobs, and this negative Karen comes in. Like, this is an actual story that happened. I didn't get her pizza right, and all of a sudden I have a review on Yelp about me. Like, she took a picture of my name tag and then she sent it in to the Yelp, and my boss had this like conversation with me, all because someone was just being so negative and they just had a bad day. And so that's what I mean by negativity is a virus. Like, Karens or people on Yelp or just people in general will try to like transmute this negativity onto you and project it onto you because they don't know what to do with it themselves. And so do me a favor and think about a time where one negative comment turned into this chain reaction of negativity. Imagine you wake up in the morning and you spill your coffee. And so you go around your entire day being angry that you spilled your coffee in the morning. You honk at people on the road. As you're going to work, you yell at the minimum wage worker who gave you another cup of coffee that you had to buy at a coffee shop, right? And then you go to your job and all of a sudden you're getting in an argument with your coworker because they recognize your negative attitude. This happens so often where these small minor inconveniences will get in the way of us remaining positive and remaining open to new information. Negativity is a virus. Just as viruses multiply and fester in environments where they're left unchecked, your negativity going unchecked affects everyone around you. Negativity flourishes in environments filled with stress, conflict, and a lack of emotional support. And that's exactly what happened in my fast food job. There was a lack of emotional support. I felt like nobody really cared about me and my life. I was just meant to go in and clock out. We live in a world where we are conditioned to be more negative. We are constantly shown all of these negative things on TV, on social media, in our daily lives. Negativity is literally everywhere around us, and that doesn't mean we shouldn't stay informed. However, we need to stay aware. We need to be aware that we have a negativity bias. Our brains naturally gravitate towards negative information. And I'm just going to read you guys some of the science behind the negativity bias real fast. It says studies utilizing event-related brain potentials, or ERPs, have consistently demonstrated that negative stimuli elicit a larger brain response compared to positive ones. ERP studies have identified early components such as the P1 and N1, which reflect initial sensory processing of stimuli. Negative stimuli tend to elicit enhanced amplitudes of these components compared to positive or neutral stimuli, suggesting heightened attentional capture and processing of negative information. Essentially, your brain is a negative Nancy, okay? Your brain naturally loves the negative chemicals, and because of our fight or flight, because of the way our brain is wired, because of years and years of evolution, we have been trained to almost value negative information over positive information. In my last podcast, I mentioned how I got a new job working for Circles, and when I tell you the shift from working fast food to working for Circles, I work on the Circles street team, so we essentially go and talk to different businesses, and it's all about supporting local businesses. So I'll meet the owners of businesses and I'll talk to them about the app. I love this job because of how positive everyone is. Everyone has a positive mindset, and that is so important in having an environment where you are allowed to be positive, where you are allowed to transmute any negativity into something that can actually be positive. I love my job because I get to see how positivity impacts people on a personal level. Just as negativity is like a virus, positivity can also be a chain reaction. Everyone I work with has such a positive mindset that it rubs off on me. Even on the days where I'm not feeling the best, other people's positive attitude will rub off on me, and all of a sudden, I'm just so happy about my life. I'm so grateful that I'm able to work where I work and be surrounded by people who are so positive. And so I'll always go out like a couple of days a week and I'll talk to these local business owners, and a lot of them share the same stories and the same mindset around positivity because they had to transmute any negativity they experienced, from bad reviews on Yelp, having to pay Yelp to keep up good reviews, into something a lot more positive because they had to make a conscious choice, like, am I going to let this negativity rule my life? However, all the positivity that's coming into my life now didn't come out of nowhere. Like, I didn't get this job opportunity out of nowhere. I got it because I chose to be more positive and optimistic about my life, especially when I was working in fast food service and working in environments that were really, really negative. We live in a time where we experience a constant flow of information, and most of that information is negative. Like, most of the information we see on social media is either neutral or just plain out negative. You open the comments on Instagram on just like a literal regular video, and you'll see so many people just commenting such negative things. It has become normalized to comment on other people's lives. And so as you listen to this podcast, I want you to start becoming aware of when you go into these negative mindsets and who else you're affecting. Because again, it's like a virus. Like, when you feel negative, you want other people to feel what you are feeling. Your environment plays a huge part in your own mental state. I'm sure you guys have heard of the idea that we are a combination of the top 5 people we hang around, and that's so true, especially when it comes to their own negative mindsets. If you surround yourself with a lot of people who are more negative, naturally your internal monologue will start becoming a lot more pessimistic about yourself, about the world around you, and you'll slowly start to lose yourself. It's so silly, but I think back to times like maybe when I was in high school, and I remember I would say things that I didn't even mean about myself. Like, I'd be so mean to myself in front of other people because other people were saying, oh my God, I'm so stupid. And then all of a sudden, that's something that's a part of my vocabulary. And as I affirm these things to myself, I start to believe them. That's what's so powerful about spoken word and affirmations, is that the more we say something to ourselves, the more we start to truly believe that. And so now that we've gone over that negativity, I want to talk about how to cultivate that positive mindset I was talking about so that you can reach your full potential. I know a lot of you listening to this podcast have felt purposeless. Like, what is the point of becoming a more positive person? It's hard to remain optimistic when there's so many things around you telling you that the world is about to end and that we're all just gonna, live in this existential crisis for the rest of our life. A big piece of advice that has helped me is learning to focus on what I can control versus what I cannot control. One individual person cannot control the atrocities that are going on in the world. One individual person cannot control other people who are negative in their job or work environment. One person cannot control how other people react to their own positivity. Sometimes you are going to choose to be a positive person and other people are going to hate you for that. Like, some negative people will become so angry that you are not entertaining their negativity. When we choose to embrace positivity, we're not just putting on a fake smile. We're not just lying to ourselves and saying that everything is fine. It's about empowering ourselves to live a life that is aligned with our goals, values, and true purpose. Have you ever noticed that when you're a lot more negative, you're more tired, and when you're a lot more positive, you're energized? Just by cultivating a more positive mindset, you are giving yourself more energy in the long run. The purpose of being positive isn't just to feel good in the moment, it's to unlock our full potential, because we are taking ownership of our lives. We're saying, I'm not going to sit here and be negative and let my fears get the best of me. I'm going to rise up from the ashes and I'm going to choose to be a more positive person. And the third thing I do to really transmute this negativity into something positive is to just say, I don't claim that. When you hear someone festering in their own negativity, simply say to yourself, I don't claim that reality. I do not claim their negativity, and put up a barrier between you and this person. It doesn't even have to be a physical barrier. It can be a mental barrier. Just as viruses spread easier without a mask on, you can choose to put on a hypothetical mask and protect yourself from negative people. And that mask is, I don't claim that. That mask is, they're living their truth, I'm living my truth. When you stop having to prove to people your own truths, you release yourself from just being negative because your friends are being negative. Distance yourself from negative people. Like I was talking about my new job earlier and how everyone's super positive, I really want to talk about surrounding yourself with positivity in all aspects of your life. In your job, in your home life, in your social circle. Earlier when I was talking about how negativity limits you from from new experiences, Yelp is a really good example of that. You are basing your experiences and where you choose to go to get your hair done, to get your nails done, to go eat food on other people's experiences who you don't even know. Circles is basically like a social recommendation app. It's all about uplifting local businesses and being more positive, and that's what I love about it, because it's not just random strangers on the internet telling you what you should and shouldn't believe about a business. I also have like a profile on there that you guys can go follow to see all of my favorite shows, movies, food if you're in my area. Another thing you should do if you want to get out of the negative mindset is to really identify the negative core belief surrounding why you are acting a certain way. And this takes shadow work, because sometimes we don't even recognize how much a limiting belief is actually limiting us. Going back to the beginning of the video, we can identify that a limiting belief is bad and that it's negative. However, actually solving and getting out of that negative paradigm is a completely different thing, because on some conscious or unconscious level, you believe that reality to be true to you. For example, believing that you never want to get your hopes up, so you constantly think negative because you assume that if you get your hopes up, you are always going to be let down. Just by doing that, you are only opening yourself up to low-level experiences, because to also have higher-level experiences, you need to open yourself up to the idea that you are worthy of them. That if you open yourself up, you're not going to be let down. And if you do, that's okay if you're let down. Everyone is let down at some points in their life. But what are you going to do about it? I think a lot of people tend to catastrophize their negative feelings. So again, focusing on what you can control in the moment. Even if you do have a negative thing in your life that's happening, try to move to being more neutral about it. I think it's unrealistic sometimes to be like, oh, I'm just going to be so positive about this negative thing that's happening in my life. Sometimes all you can do is move to more of a neutral stance on it and direct your focus elsewhere. Another trick I have for being a more positive person is to give positivity in order to receive positivity. However, don't have the expectation that just because you're positive to other people, that means that automatically people are going to be nice to you. Be positive to other people because that's genuinely just like who you are, because I promise you it'll pay off. Like, yes, there are some nasty people in the world, but don't take anything personally. And honestly, that can be a whole thing in of itself. Like, don't take anything personally. Most negative people aren't negative because of you specifically. They're negative because of their own baggage and their own experiences they've had in life. Everyone has their own limiting beliefs. Just as you have things that make you feel like a negative person, everyone has their own shit. So separate your shit from other people's shit. You know what I mean? Recognize when you're being the one that's taking something personally because it's like a personal jab or you need to heal something, versus other people just trying to project something onto you. And don't be afraid to be a positive person in other people's lives. Like, don't be afraid to go out of your way to do something nice for other people. Truly believe that what you give will come back to you at some point or another. Actually, let me correct myself. Be a kind person, not a nice person. Nice always gives like people pleasing, whereas kind is like you do things for people because it genuinely makes you happy. However, you still have boundaries. But yeah, don't be afraid to be a positive person to other people. That's what I mean. The people you surround yourself with are so essential to maintaining a positive environment. I know a lot of you are like, well, I'm scared if I leave my friends, I won't have anybody with me. I would rather have nobody around me than have people with bad intentions around me. Like, genuinely sit with that, because if you are a positive person, oftentimes people will literally drain your energy. Like, negativity drains your energy. Whereas if you surround yourself with positive people who are uplifting, you automatically get like an energy boost. Incorporate positive habits in your life to check your mental state. You need to check your negativity, because if our mental state is left unchecked, we can often get into these really negative thought patterns and not know how to get out. So when you implement journaling every day, or even doing like a daily meditation of just being mindful, taking some space to breathe, like even if you're not a meditation type of person, just taking some space to just take a deep breath in and exhale. Just doing that a couple of times when you're feeling super anxious or maybe you have a lot of negative thought patterns can really improve your overall mental state and can help you maintain that positive mindset when you're doing something that might be a little bit difficult for you to do. Practice self-compassion. I feel like a lot of the times we're so negative because we don't give the grace we give other people. Like, we're so negative about ourselves. Like, check your negative self-talk. Like, give yourself self-compassion. As soon as you start to slip up into those negative thought patterns, start consciously going like, I'm not stupid, I'm very smart. Like, sometimes it's literally just as simple as that, because even when you tell a silly joke or do something silly, your first instinct is to say, oh, I'm so stupid. It's really helped me because as someone who struggled with a lot of negative self-talk, I'd feel so overwhelmed by my own negativity that I wouldn't really be able to find a way out in my own mind. Be grateful. Like, be a grateful person. Think about all the things you are experiencing and all the things that you have in your life that are honestly a privilege. People would rather have your struggles than their struggles. And that's not to minimize your problems, but that is to put it in perspective. Put your problems in perspective. Number 7 is to practice resilience. And the best way I like to practice resilience is to always find a positive in negative situations. And I know I mentioned this earlier, but I think it's so important to recognize that everything is working out for you. Like, everything is working out for you, even when it's not working out. It's still not working out for you. Sometimes when things fall apart, sometimes what you perceive as sabotage was really protection. Sometimes you're not being broken down, you're being put under construction. So when you deal with difficult moments in life where something seems so negative and that you can't even extract any type of positive thing out of it, start being neutral with it. There was a foundation I was not seeing. There's something I didn't see clearly, and now I do see it clearly. Express gratitude for new information. And some last things I'm just going to mention: start listening to more positive music. Sometimes it's just the small things, the small changes in our life, such as listening to more positive music, uplifting music rather than sad music, that can really change our mood. The things we engage in on a day-to-day basis need to be monitored. And to close up everything, make sure you create distance from negative people and try to put yourself in situations that'll help you grow. Like, if you feel like you're in a situation where you are not growing, you are taking steps backwards. Like, if you don't feel like you're going forwards, you're going backwards. And in my opinion, that's really what made me step up and be more positive in my own life when I was dealing with a lot of negativity in my past jobs. I realized that if I wasn't serious about being positive, who was going to do it for me? I wouldn't have this perspective if it weren't for the wonderful people around me who encourage me and uplift me. And if you don't have anybody around you that is encouraging or uplifting, make sure you are that for yourself. With that being said, you guys, thank you guys so much for tuning in to the Improvement for Imbeciles podcast. I understand how difficult it can be to stay positive in a world where we are constantly experiencing negativity. You never know what opportunities are going to come your way. Well, what if I fail? Well, what if you don't? What if you don't? And that's what I'm going to leave you guys with today. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I'll see you guys next week. Stay stupid, my friends. Bye, y'all.